Estamos en junio, un mes que además de celebrar el orgullo, conmemora el mes de la historia indígena de Canadá. Un mes donde se reconoce, se celebra las tradiciones de las primeras naciones, inuits y métis. Sin embargo, uno de los capítulos más oscuros de la historia de este país es el genocidio que se ha perpetrado en contra de los pueblos originarios de Canadá. Un ejemplo de aquello son las escuelas residenciales, un lugar donde miles de personas perdieron la vida, fueron abusadas y fueron torturadas en una política llevada a cabo por el Estado canadiense y las iglesias canadienses. Un ejemplo de aquello fue el reciente hallazgo de los restos de 215 niños en las dependencias de una antigua escuela residencial en Kamloops, British Columbia. También se esperan que este tipo de hallazgos trágicos sigan ocurriendo acá en Canadá. En este marco hemos querido encontrarnos y conversar con Cara Loft. Ella es máster en trabajo social y pertenece al programa de estudios indígenas de la Universidad de Wilfrid Laurier, acá en Ontario. Cara Loft conversó con nosotros en el Centro News.
Sego, Segomguelo, Cara Loft Young Yats, Gandege, Newiguejo. Sego, El Centro News. My name is Cara Loft. My family is from Tyendinaga First Nation, and I am from the Wolf Clan. This would be a cultural genocide. There are many people, especially in the Canadian government, especially in politics, that would see this and not want to classify it as such. But when there is a systemic and systematic destruction of a culture, of a people, that is classified as genocide. And the term cultural genocide has been used, but in light of what is happening and the uncovering of hundreds of Indigenous children's bodies, this is a genocide. Tragedy. I think tragedy is the biggest word that comes to mind. Tragic loss. It's also, for myself as an Indigenous person, quite gruesome to hear about this, because in order to cover up something of this scale and magnitude, 215 children, that requires strategic planning on the part of administration, government officials, so the church-run residential boarding schools. And so, it to me invokes a lot of grief, and that has been the process for myself and other Indigenous people over the past month. Would highly recommend that there are books that are available. There is a movie called When We Were Children that takes us through the journey of a young Indigenous girl who was taken from her family and put into the residential boarding school system. It is quite graphic, but it is reflective of the reality that these young children faced when they were taken from their homes, taken from their culture, and placed into a very strange environment and subjected to these abuses. This is a very tough topic for some people, and again, the physical, sexual, emotional, and spiritual abuses were very real and very traumatic for many people.
I don't know what kind of God they have.
This information that there are mass graves at these residential boarding schools is not new. This was reflected in the Royal Commission on the Aboriginal Peoples that was held in the 90s. Also in the White Paper, which was another document from the Canadian government that examined, what happened to Indigenous peoples within these systems, not just the residential boarding school, but also, the foster care system. What needs to happen is the integration into education about what has happened here. There needs to be, conversations that keep going here, and the acknowledgement of Indigenous rights. Giving back of land. So there is a land back camp actually out in Kitchener right now. And so what they're doing is occupying space. And this is important because, as Indigenous peoples, we did not draw the borders. Those borders were imposed on us. And so land was taken from different Indigenous groups And our connection to the land is a spiritual one. When kids are taken to the residential boarding schools, they are disconnected from the land. They're disconnected from their culture and disconnected from their spirituality. And so in order to somehow, for future generations, gain back that sense, there needs to be access to land, there needs to be access to cultural practices, and again, the transparency from the political side, transparency from, the church-run side. Those are important starting pieces. But moving forward, we need to see that giving back of the land.